Hi, everyone. I'm Russell Nohelty,
I'm Monica Leonelle.
and we are, we've finished the first week, kind of, sort of, in a way, at least like the biggest, like, first couple of days chunk of the campaign. And since Monica's never done this before, I thought it would be fun to kind of ask her how it was. So, Monica, you've launched a lot of books before, but never on Kickstarter. Like, tell us a little bit about how you feel now after the first few days of your launch.
Yeah, it's true. So I'm trying to think of even how many, I wouldn't even have a count of how many books I've launched on, retailers. So this is the first book on Kickstarter. I think it's going really well. So I'm really excited about it. It's been fun to watch the campaign. Before we started, I was um, incredibly nervous about it. It was very scary for me during the whole process of getting everything set up. So I think that's fine. Like that's something I want to say is like it's not like you're getting like attacked by a bear and you have to like save your child or something. Like it's just a sales page. And that was one of the things that Russell told me, and it was super helpful to me. So I want to pass that on. But yeah, I mean, the big thing is like I had Russell, and I had Russell's system, and that was actually really soothing for me. It because like I didn't even I didn't do all the things in your system, but like the Kickstarter is still successful. So that was something that and the reason I didn't do them is not because they're not great ideas. It's literally just because I just wasn't as organized. And I didn't I think now that I've done the process once, it would be easier to be more organized next time. But like this time I was kind of like still wrapping my head around a lot of stuff. So that was kind of a challenge. And the other thing is like first campaign 10K. We set the goal at 1K, but we'd love to hit 10K. Russell regularly hits 10K. So for me to for me to try to hit 10K, I was pretty intimidated by that. But I think we're on track. So
So I
I'm
have a
excited about
question
that.
for you.
Yeah.
I have so many questions, but like, you've launched so many books and like courses and like all sorts of things on every platform. Like, I mean, just everywhere. Like, do you have any idea like what it was about like Kickstarter that was just so intimidating?
Yeah. So one of the things was not being able to change the reward tiers. So it felt like they have to be perfect. Another thing was just not knowing, not understanding the trajectory of how a Kickstarter campaign works. And so you understand this very well, Russell. And you had to like tell me step by step, like at this hour, we're gonna try to get this amount. At this hour, we're getting this amount. And if this is going well, then this is where it tracks. And so, I told you like, let's make a video about that, which you did, which I'm super excited to share. We won't share that for like another week or two, but we are sharing these numbers in the backer updates. So if you want to back us, then you'll see these numbers like today. So, but he gave like these exact numbers from his own experience, and it proved out. Like that was the other thing is like the first day it's like, all right, at this hour we hit this, at this hour we hit this. It's like, and the system just like it really just worked kind of seamlessly. I think we're like almost perfectly. So we're midday on Friday. We're like literally like $1 from the exact number that Russell told us said that we should be at. So like we're at 64.99 right now, midday. So like this is how exact Russell's data is. Like he knows what he's talking about. So that was really helpful to me, just being able to say like, okay, like we hit this benchmark, we hit this benchmark. And I think that's really, again, it's soothing to me to like know, to like have those benchmarks. And one of the things you told me is like, if we're not hitting this benchmark, that's when we need to press the gas on something that we have saved for later on in the campaign. So, and we have, I mean, and you're the one who told me this, Russell, but we have like dozens of things in our back pocket. Like there are so many audiences that I haven't even reached out to. Like I haven't hit my Medium audience. I barely hit my Substack audience. I just hit my YouTube audience yesterday. Haven't hit my podcast audience. So it's like we saved like a ton of stuff. We held back on purpose so that if we need to throw some gas on the fire, we're going to in order to hit these metrics. And so that's the most important thing is you need to be, if you feel like your launch is out of your control in some way, then it's going to freak you out. When you know your numbers and they've been proven out and you know how to like work your numbers, basically, like, okay, we're trying to hit this by this date. So if we need to, we have this other thing that we could do to like try to get those numbers up, then you're good. Like it's very like it's predictable. And so I think that was what it was for me. Is like I'm like like Russell is like 18-time world champ at Kickstarter. Monica is like kickstarting a ball on the soccer field playground. Like Monica doesn't know how to do this. Russell is great at this, and like I'm not Russell. Like like doesn't matter. Even having you being a part of it, of course, like you're a huge part of the campaign, and having you like do a lot of the work for it, it's still like you're like I could be messing up somewhere. Like that was a fear for me too. So
yeah, it's funny because like that first day, and also if you have questions, like this is the time to ask them. Like we're I don't know when the next time we're going to be doing one of these like lives are. We're not planning on doing them. I'm not planning another one. So like if you have questions about the campaign or rewards or just Kickstarter in general, like now is the time to ask. Well, like, so you always get a chance to ask me, right? Like I'm pretty present, but like the really interesting thing for me in this is Monica's never done this before. And though she has launched so many campaigns of so many things, not just books, but like I said, courses and other materials, like she still had the same fear that everyone has on Kickstarter, which I get it because like I have this like, to me, it's like, what if I chose the wrong number? It's like, what if like I can't hit that number and all the money vanishes? And then also like, what if like we get to the end and we've barely made a goal and like that's going to be out there forever and ever and ever? Or like what if we can't even hit goal? Like what is that what does that mean? And there are all these things that, I mean, to me, you can't know. I don't want to say how simple or like how easy it can be, because like it's definitely not simple and it's definitely not easy, like no launch is, but like how attainable it is,
right,
until you like hit the button and you're like, oh, a tiger didn't jump out and like
yeah. Yeah, I had a lot of trouble hitting the button, and I was also so Russell knows this already, but I'll just tell everybody, confess to everybody, I was an hour and a half late to our launch, just because my household is chaotic. So Russell was already kind of like waiting for me to hit this button, and then I had like 5 to 10 minutes of like I literally can't hit this button. Like I'm so terrified to hit this button. Like I like have to move through fear before I hit this, even though it's just literally like zeros and ones and a like in a screen. It was so terrifying. But then we hit it, and then I ran away for like 2 hours. I was like, I literally feel like I'm gonna puke. So
you texted me, it was like, I'm going away. Don't like, I'll be back eventually, but like, I can't.
I was like, I'll be back in an hour. I can't look at this right now. I'm just so freaked out. But yeah, it was, I don't know if my fear was like, well, obviously it was irrational, like clearly, but I don't know if it was like over the top dramatic as well. So maybe I'm just more fearful than the average person. But yeah, I felt like there was a lot riding on this. I didn't want to let Russell down. I didn't want to let everybody down. So that was a big part of my fears. But anyway, so if you have fears, you're not alone. It's okay. You can work through them and have a really successful campaign still.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I have the same launch every time, kind of like, because you're watching the number tick up.
Yeah.
You're watching it and you're like, okay, like it's going okay. It's going okay.
Yeah.
It's going okay. But still, every time, like, this is the last backer. This is the last person who's going to
Mhm.
go. And like, sometimes there's like a gap because,
Mhm.
on Amazon, like they kind of report in these chunks. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, like, 15-minute or hour, or
Yeah.
sometimes like 3-day chunks. Like,
Right.
we don't see things and you get like this big thing immediately. But with Kickstarter, it's like ring a little bit, ring a little bit, ring a
Yeah.
little bit. And you kind of don't know if any of the, like, you don't know if your tiers are going to convert, or the big ones are going to convert, or the small,
Right.
or which one. And I feel like every time I do a campaign, like different ones convert at different levels, and I have no idea or almost control. I just put it, I just put it like out there, and I'm like, I know all of these things kind of work somehow, and you just kind of
Yeah.
have to hope that like they're all going to work somehow, like,
Right.
correctly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think with ours, so like with Amazon, I'm just gonna say Amazon. I mean retailers, but Amazon is so visible with its sales ranks. So you can see your sales, and you can see anybody's sales if you're watching hour by hour, because it updates hour by hour. Sometimes there's a lag in it, but on like launch day, but it's it pretty much you can track somebody's launch hour by hour, same as you can do with Kickstarter. So the difference though is that the book, like you're just looking at sales. You're not looking at sales of what. Whereas with the Kickstarter, you are looking at sales of like 10 different things that you're trying to promote. And those things kind of interact with each other because it's like nobody's backing like two things at once. They have to choose. They're backing this thing or they're backing this thing. And so there is this there's some unique buyer psychology that I don't think is there with a Amazon launch, which is interesting, and something that we talk about in our book. So yeah, back us kickstartyournovel.com. I'll just keep saying that during this.
Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, I
I
mean,
have no
it's so
problem.
interesting because, like, you're right. Like on like if you launch a book somewhere else, suddenly you're like, oh, it's not selling. I'm gonna drop the price now to like 99 cents or like
Yeah.
whatever. Oh, it's selling really well. It's selling too well. Maybe I put it too low. I
Mm.
can up the price. But like on Kickstarter, you're like, I hope I did it all right. And hopefully what you found, because like this happened to us a couple of times. Like we got comments that were like, one of them was just like, is this included in this pledge level, or like,
Yeah.
can I get these things in a pledge level? And like then you answer it, and like then they back.
Yeah.
So how was seeing that, like, they're not going to break, like they're not going to just run away, like actually seeing it, like how did that like change the fear that you had moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely calmed me down. So one thing that's great about our campaign is that it's very long. So whether I will think that's great in a couple weeks is a question mark. Russell, Russell does his campaigns either 10 days or 17 days usually. And I know you do some 30-day campaigns or 40-day campaigns, but it's rare. It's only if you have a big goal. Um, so for us though, our campaign, I think it was 40 days, but we broke it up into 6 weeks. So in my mind, it's a 6-week campaign. And so, every week, so the end week, we're going to be at 20 books. So that'll be, a great opportunity to talk about Kickstarter. And then the first week, we're doing what we did this week. Like you've just seen the first week basically. So you know what's going on. But weeks 2 through 5, like I think that it could be very challenging to come up with stuff for like a fiction one if you were doing such a long campaign, versus a nonfiction one. Nonfiction has a lot of content marketing in it, and content marketing takes time. So it's like I'm glad that we have such a long campaign to do the adjustments that we need to do, because this week we learned something that I feel very silly for not realizing. But I had tried to make the tiers so that they're all it's all like all rewards from previous tiers are included. Like I was trying to make it simple. And Russell kind of cautioned me against this. He was like, yeah, good luck with that. Because he already knew it wasn't going to work out. But I tried it. It didn't work out. The reason it didn't work out is because of print books and international readers. And so we've had to add tiers, because what was happening is that shipping costs are so high to even just send a book to another country. And so there were some tiers where it's like somebody from Australia can't back this tier. It's like $100 tier that is like almost entirely digital stuff, but they can't back it because there's a $25 print book that they then have to pay $70 of shipping on. So like the $100 tier now costs them $170, and so they're just not going to back it. And so that was the big problem with the digital versus print. Russell told me this ahead of time. I didn't understand. So now I've learned, and now you've learned. Anybody watching this now knows. But the answer to that, what we did is we just we copied some of those tiers, and you can do this. Luckily, you can't change a tier once somebody backs it. You can add a new tier, and I think you can like limit a tier. I haven't done that yet, but yeah. So we added tiers, and we just made them digital only without the print book and without the shipping costs. And so now, if you're international, you can do it. You won't get the print book. We'll give you a couple extra copies of the digital book, and hopefully you share it with a friend or something. And it's not a perfect solution, but that was something I definitely did not think about or understand, how digital and print need to be two separate tracks for the international people.
And there's just some people that prefer digital books, and they don't. Like, I generally prefer digital books unless like my people, like, except for books I love. Like, I have one. I'm an odd author where like I only have one or two bookshelves of like books because like I try and maintain minimalism as much as I can. But one thing that you talked about was limiting backers, and one thing that we haven't even talked about is like there is a way to limit rewards to like a weekend. So for instance, I had a couple of campaigns ago, I had a tier that I only allowed to like be like for 3 days. And so it was called the Legendary All In. And it was like basically a year of consulting, basically a year of mentorship with me. Mm-hmm. And one person took it up, but like the way I pitched it was like, you only have 3 days. Like I'm not a person who does mentorships or like, right. I do consulting, but like, really I never publicize it. So like this is the first time maybe in my whole career that like I've publicized that I'm doing consulting for this campaign. But if you have something like we have a bunch of courses that we've done, mm-hmm. and like you can be like, hey, I'm offering this bananas deal for this weekend because we're below goal, or right. Or we're above goal and we want to celebrate. So like mm-hmm. one thing that I always caution, like thinking about and breaking it up into weeks, is you're like, okay, my goal for the end of this week is $8,000. Like that's what I had said. If we can get $8,000 by Saturday, like we're in real good shape to hit 10,000, because like literally if you just raise $0 before the last week of your campaign, mm-hmm. you're probably going to hit 10 grand just with that last $2,000 push. Yeah. But like, let's say we hit 7 grand, or mm-hmm. like, let's say you're 5 grand and you're like, oh my God, I'm tracking so far below goal, which has happened to me before. Mm-hmm. Like I've done this so many times where I'm sitting there being like, I'm not going to hit it. Like I'm not going to hit what I need to do on like a Thursday. And I'm like, okay, I pull in my back pocket. I'm like, what's the thing that I can offer that's so enticing that it will push it up? And I always try and hold those back because I know I'm going to run a bunch of campaigns, and I know I only have like one time. Like that mm-hmm. mentorship I've been holding back for 4 years. Yeah. So it's a one-time thing that you're going to get from me, one time only. And mm-hmm. I didn't want to blow it unless I like really was below. And the campaign that I was on, I was like $3,000 below the number. And I was like, oh my God, this is going so badly. It's going so terribly. Like we're not even going to hit the goal, like the goal. It was like, the goal was like $16,000 or $17,000 right. or something. I was like, we're not even going to hit the screw going over it. Screw hitting like the 20,000 I wanted to hit. Yeah. And so we actually I put that in, and like suddenly the first week I did only so if we were like $1,000 down the first week, I think, and I did all of my courses for $1,000. And this is like $7,000 of courses for $1,000, and we were like then still like $2,000 mm-hmm. short the second week, and I like released the legendary perk, and we finally like got to the level that like we were tracking slightly above. So there's all these things that we haven't even tapped in yet. Like you said, it's like we have courses and all sorts of other things that like you can say, hey, I have this, you have books that are out of print. Like we have an out
Yeah.
of print
I
book.
have
Like
all
you
sorts of
can,
stuff.
we're only going to offer this for a day, or like
Yeah.
today, like you can upgrade, or you can do an add-on, or there's all these things that you can play with, but you have to have like the prep, I
Yeah.
think. And so you had said that you were kind of disorganized before this campaign, but like,
That's like
what
an
would you do
understatement.
now? Like looking back now that we're like
Yeah.
sitting on Friday morning and Friday early afternoon, or Friday, whatever, Friday
Yeah.
morning, or Saturday morning, if you're in
Sure.
like some places, but like sitting here Friday, looking back at Tuesday, what would you have made sure that you did? Like not everything,
Yeah.
but like what are the things
Right.
you're like, these are the things that like my second campaign I am definitely going to do
Oh, yeah.
before I hit launch.
Yeah, I mean, the first one is that I will be getting. So we're doing another thing in January. Both of us are not together. We're doing separate fiction campaigns for our stuff. And one thing that I'm doing is like kind of starting now in terms of like what, like I've written out like the rewards, like there's a lot of prep, and definitely I want to get that pre-launch page up before, like significantly before, like at least a month before. So like I want to have it up like probably the week before Thanksgiving, if possible, just because December is like we're both launching kind of like the beginning of January, and December is rough with the holidays, and then like Thanksgiving is like kind of crazy. So I really want to have that pre-launch page up. The reason why is we got the pre-launch page up, I think like it was maybe like I don't remember,
I
like
think it
2
was like
weeks in
4 days
advance.
before.
Oh, was
Like
it
I think
only
it was like
like
the Thursday before,
oh, I thought
we
it was
start
no,
we
it was
started
like a
prepare.
whole week. It
Yeah,
was
but
at least a week before.
we started really pushing it like the Thursday before the
Yes.
launch.
No, it was like okay, it was that yes, that's true. It was like the Tuesday, at least for me. I was pushing it on Facebook, like starting that week before. However, we did have a couple days. So like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I wasn't able to push it at all. So we kind of lost momentum on it. But we got like 150 people or so in a couple days. And that really, one of the things Russell said to me is he's like, we could have gotten like 400 people or 500 people if we had just gotten this up when Russell told me to, which was a month in advance. So now, like if I were doing this again, like I want those 500 people on there because we would be in a very different place right now. The reason is because those notifications go out at the beginning of the campaign, and then they also go out at the end of the campaign, and we're converting pretty high on them. I think it's 43% right now. So and we still are accumulating them, so they will be. So I think we're at about 250. Like we started the campaign about 150 to 175. We're at 250 now. And so those notifications will go out again at the end of the campaign, but it's like, man, we could have had double, triple, starting at like if we had 400, then that would have been pretty awesome. Or even, I think we could have probably gotten to 200 or 300 if I had even done like a couple weeks of promotion. So yeah, it was kind of I mean, it turned out fine. But it's definitely something I'd rather have ahead of time, is just have those numbers much higher. Because I think I think it's like nice, it's kind of like on Amazon, you do this with pre-orders. It's like you have your pre-order goals. That's why you do long pre-orders. And this is kind of like, it's not a pre-order, but it's at least like a sign up to an email list type of thing. So I think it really I think we didn't take advantage of that the way we could have. And it was because it was because of me. It was because of me. I didn't get it done early enough. So, and I didn't really understand the value of pushing it as well, or like how to push it. But now I'm kind of like, yeah, I could push this pretty well.
Well, and another thing is just like we have a lot of high tier goals, right? And up to $2,500. We've got
Yeah.
we have got a course for like $150. Like the sprinting was like $100, and these are not like instant purchases for most people. Like just finding $100 like when you launch is not going to be something that the majority of human beings like can do. So having the longer pre-launch allows you to say, oh, like make sure like you've got 2 paychecks or 3 paychecks to
Yeah.
prepare for like this big hit. Like you're going to want to do this, and here's why. And I feel like that's really the thing that we missed out on, not having those extra weeks, was like we have this sprint with me, which is like me, Russell Nohelty, will be taking you through step by step, like, and with your campaigns, we're all going to launch a campaign in January. It's like, as Monica said, like just a crazy deal that I probably shouldn't be offering, but I'm offering it anyway,
Yep.
because I really believe in the publishing platform and I believe in doing this thing. And like we could have spent a whole month talking about how great that is and like getting people prepped for it. And now we're kind of playing, we still have a month to do it, right? Like, we still have a month to build it up, but like, I feel like we didn't have that ability, or like Monica very rarely, if ever, does consulting, and like she's offering up to like 5 hours of consulting at this campaign level, and like we're not, you can't just pull out a card, most of us, and like and just have $500 available. And those are the things I really think the longer that you have, the more people, instead of like, we'll probably get the same people that we got, but instead of getting them at the beginning of the campaign, which is when I like to get them because it boosts that number really high, we get them towards the end of the campaign. And like, it's a lot harder to plan, let's say, our Wide Minders event if like right now we've got 0 people. So like part of me is like, do we even really need to offer this Wide Minders event? Like, because like, what if we get one human that's going to do it? Like, what if one person does it? Like, we're going to plan this whole thing. But like, if 3 people had done it in the first week because like they knew about it, we would have been like, oh, okay, like we could start planning that now. We can plan about filling it with other people. So some of this is about like, those bigger tiers. For me, it's not so much about the like the $5 or $10 or those tiers. Not that those people aren't great and like we don't want them, but like most people can make a $5 or $10 decision relatively quickly. But like 40, 50, 100, 200, $2,500, like you need to get your ducks in a row. You need to know, like, what is this event? Like, we haven't even talked about this $2,500 Wide Minders event. And like, we're just like, here's $2,500. We're going to do a thing and like, just pay it. Whereas like, if we had a month, 2 months, 3 months to prep it, we could have been like, here are all of the things. Here are the people that were doing this. And, I think that you're right. I think we're still going to get those people.
Yeah.
But it would have been nice to get, it would have been nice to be at like $17,000
right now.
Maybe getting 10 grand at the end of this campaign and just not knowing.
Yeah, no, and I think, Russell, that was some people asked me about this, so I thought like it would be kind of fun to address here. But people have asked me like, how are you and Russell working together, or like whatever that is, or like how did you and Russell like decide to do this together? Because it is kind of unusual to have like 2 people who have their own like successes and they're doing this project together. And so I think like I want, and I hope you don't mind, we talk about this. We kind of are talking about this. Like, I think I think like creatively we're kind of on the same page. Like the way we do marketing is really like similar. Like we're kind of, the way our careers have gone has been kind of similar. But like one thing about us is that Russell gets stuff done like a year in advance. Like he's super massively organized, and I don't. So I've gotten significantly worse. Like I used to be the person who showed up like 5 minutes before I needed to show up. Like I was an on-time person, and now I've become the person who's like 15 minutes late. Now that I've like had a child. So I feel like I wouldn't say it's like been a point of tension. I just feel like it's like that acknowledgement that like we're very different in those respects, and like it has caused like both of us anxiety. It's just worth like acknowledging that when you work with somebody, like you may have a really different style around that. And I think people are curious about that type of stuff. So it's like, I mean, the good thing to me, and like I pretty much lucked out with Russell as a partner, because I've had in, I think both of us are like very emotionally mature people. Like we don't want like any sort of drama. Like we're not really drama people. But I think like probably you've encountered that in the past. I know I've encountered that in the past where like there was some drama around it when there doesn't really need to be. It's like, you know, um like it kind of is what it is. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. I had told you that I would get some of these higher tiers like promoted like months in advance. And I wasn't able to, like I wasn't able to hit that. Now I definitely agree with you. Like I wish we had done it. I wish I had done it. I wish I had been talking about it on my podcast or whatever, and whatever else. And so there is a page for it. So if you're interested in this Wide Minders event, there is a page for it, that you can read more about it. We do have a lot of cool people who are going to be like guest experts as the thing goes through. And I don't really want to announce it, but basically it would be because like the event is kind of still in limbo. If nobody backs it, we may not do it, basically. But if even one person backs it, we will do it, and we have a plan to sell it, after the Kickstarter as well. And we'll do like you can't do a payment plan through Kickstarter, but you can do one through other means. So the tickets will go on sale afterwards if we have a couple backers at this. And then the people who will be there, they're very prominent in the community. They are like the people you would think would be there for like like a Wide Minders event. It's like the absolute experts, include, and Russell and I are part of that group. But yeah, it will be a really cool event. But I do wish I had been talking about it. And I think that's, yeah, definitely another missed opportunity.
But like, your first campaign is not your last campaign. And the nice thing about Kickstarter is you always get better over time. And, assuming that you keep serving the audience. And so, okay, we have some questions. So I know,
do we?
Yeah, we do. Okay.
Yay.
So, Cyber Priest asks, I'm curious what the pros and cons of Kickstarter publishing versus getting a publisher are. I understand it's hard to get a publisher, but other aspects you might think of. I think we should expand this to emphasize Kickstarter, but you can also talk about just self-publishing in general, because I think that's the core of the question, right? Like Kickstarter / self-publishing versus publishing.
Kickstarter / self-publishing versus like traditional publishing.
Yeah, getting a publisher. I mean, I know my answer. I see that they said, I understand it's hard to get a publisher. That's usually my answer. I can expound on it a little bit, but I'd love to hear what you have to say as well.
Well, so I never chose independent publishing because I couldn't get a publisher. I never tried to get a publisher, and I may try to get a publisher in the future. Maybe not for my fiction, but I have a couple of creative books that I want to possibly pitch to a publisher. So I don't know that my answer is really relevant, because I think, like for me, I think if you want a traditional publisher, then you should try to get a traditional publisher. Like I feel like if you come to indie publishing because you settled for less than what you wanted, it's probably not going to work out for you. Like I don't think that is typically a good energy to come to anything with. Like if you're like if you like get married because you settled, like that's not good either. So I think you got to come to indie publishing like wanting to indie publish, and the people who are successful, because it's just as hard of a job to indie publish as it is to try to get and work with a traditional publisher.
Well, to indie publish well.
Yeah, to indie publish well. It's true. But even, I mean, kind of like to indie publish poorly too. Like it's not a walk in the park. Like you have to write a book, you have to like format it, you have to get a cover, you got to like figure out how to upload it onto Amazon. You got to like at least try to get sales. Like it's a lot of investment if you're not going to like really go all in on it. So I don't think anyone should be indie publishing unless they really want to be. And if you do want a traditional publisher and you don't have the right books for it or whatever, then that is what it is. You have to decide, like, do I still want to bring these books to the world no matter what? And you got to like really get yourself in a positive mindset for indie publishing.
You said that last part is really important because like there are books that like will work better with a publisher, and there are books that will work better in independent publishing, and there are books a publisher just won't touch, like just genres and types. And there are books that like if you don't hit this one publisher or three publishers, like they're not, like there are just not a lot of publishers out there. So I'm not, people like to think that I'm anti-publisher because like I've been self-publishing, and like the way I started publishing was because like I had small publishers who just didn't publish my books well, and I was like, I can do this. Like I can publish my books badly. Like I don't know if I can publish them well, but like I can publish them at least as well as these people can. But I'm not anti-publisher. Like I think that like publishers, and there are a lot of great publishers like that do great work, and like they should be lauded, and like they do things that I'd never think about. Like I don't know how to get into libraries. Like I mean, I know how to get into libraries, but like with any like reliability, like it's very hard to get into libraries and bookstores, and that's still where 80% of books are sold. So like there's all these things that a good publisher can do for you. I just think that there are so many predatory publishers out there, not even vanity press publishers, just like traditionally set up publishers who are predatory. And like there are websites and like podcasts devoted to these people, and just like and so if you find a good publisher, which is hard, and who wants to, and I'm not saying like it has to be through an agent, like there are very good publishers who get unagented books. Just like you have to be very careful, and that's really for me, Kickstarter publishing allows you to publish a wider range of books than even Amazon, really, because like you can't be successful on Amazon really if you publish like really weird books. Like really, horror is a category that is very, very, very hard to be successful on Amazon, because the amount of people that are looking for horror books on Amazon is very, very, very small. Just the market is very small for horror books. I love horror books. Like I have a whole series on H.P. Lovecraft anthology series, and like just there's not many people on Amazon that want that, especially not enough to warrant paying less than like $10-$20 for like a book. It's when the audience is smaller, you got to charge more because like you got to get more from each one. Kickstarter allows you to like fund much weirder books. Like H.P. Lovecraft, while being irrelevant roughly on Amazon, is like the biggest author on Kickstarter. Like just like everyone is there to like so many people are there for like Lovecraft's work. So the pro is it allows you to make much weirder books and make more money on them, so you can at least continue that series, if not like make a massive runaway bestseller. So like fantasy, sci-fi, and horror are kind of like, I'm not saying that like there are just way less people reading those genres than romance and thriller on Amazon, but they are the kind of things that thrive on Kickstarter. They're also the kind of things that there are not a lot of independent presses or publishers that publish sci-fi, fantasy, and horror books. There just are not, and there are not many good publishers that publish that. I know some of them. I know many more who are not like good for that sort of thing. So it allows you to, so Kickstarter, the pro, allows you to publish much weirder books and make more money from fewer people, so you can fund and continue to fund less popular genres of work. The con is that it's all on you. Like you are the one running the campaign. You are the one printing the books, like with the printer, like not physically printing, but you're the one who's printing the books. You're the ones who are shipping the books. You're signing the books. Like you are responsible for packing the books, and all of the pieces from beginning to end are on you. Even with Amazon, you say, oh, Amazon screwed up. Like Amazon screwed up the thing. Like Amazon screwed up the print. Like it's not on me. But like on Kickstarter, it is very much on you, and you are the brand that they're focusing on. And you're the brand they will complain to if things are not right. The other con is like you got to bring your own audience for the most part. Like you got to bring the people to the yard. Like you're not like, I mean, Amazon, you have to do it too. But there is this sort of like, you know, if you make the right cover with the right trope, like your book can just take off with like nothing. Like, you know, I mean,
That's not true. That's not true
I
anymore.
know that's not a thing, but like that is like
It was a
the
thing.
prevailing
Yeah.
wisdom of some people. So like you can't do that on Kickstarter. Like there's not a ton of like, unless you were actively cross promoting, like there are also bots, but like it's just not the same as Amazon.
Yeah.
So like it is not saying that Kickstarter does nothing, but like it is just more incumbent on you than anywhere else, and especially if you are with a publisher.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have to get the party started on Kickstarter. You have to keep the party going on Kickstarter. I was looking at our dashboard. We have had a surprising portion of people just from the Kickstarter ecosystem backing. It could be because of our book specifically. Obviously, people who are looking at Kickstarter, they're likely to be interested in our book. So it could be because of that. I don't know if you've had the same experience on your fiction campaigns or your comics.
Yeah, it's hard to know because a lot of people who are on Kickstarter will go to the app and just buy
And then
the
buy.
thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or like it will, if you're doing on your mobile, it will take you to the link and open directly on the app. So it's sometimes hard to track exactly who the bot on Kickstarter is for. But yeah, I mean, there are people that are scrolling through Kickstarter. It's less people. It's like it's just a smaller number of people. I mean, we looked at this like over the whole of Kickstarter's existence. There's been something like 500,000 projects, which sounds like a ton, but like there are 2,000 books a day that are launched on Amazon. So in 6 months, Amazon has launched more projects, more things than just books than Kickstarter has launched projects in their whole existence.
Yeah.
There's like something like 30,000 total books or 50,000 total books that have on Kickstarter.
Which they're like 12 million on Amazon now, or 10 million, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere around there.
I think we've kind of exhausted that topic, but happy to talk about it if you have more of a question. How is everyone doing today? Gabriel asks. I'm doing well. How are you doing, Monica?
I'm doing really well. Very excited to be here. I mean, both Russell and I love to talk, so we're happy. This is like our happy place in many ways.
Yeah,
chat about what we know.
Yes, I mean, for me, I very rarely get to talk about nonfiction stuff anymore. So it's been a very nice change of pace this week. All right, Megan asks, any advice on what Kickstarter project to start with if this is your first time? Example: I write science fiction. Start with the next audiobook, the next ebook production, or what do I start with?
Yeah, so my suggestion is to start with your next ebook. And the reason, and to keep it exclusive to Kickstarter as your launch. And what we're doing is, and this is what Russell does regularly, is we are doing like a 6-month wait time. So like you got to get it on Kickstarter this time around, or else it's not going to be available till like May of next year. So it's actually even longer. It's like 8 or 9 months for our book, and I think that has worked really well for Russell, and it's just and we've seen people do other stuff like Matt Heron. He just finished his launch on Kickstarter, I think at the end of September, and his books are on Amazon now. So I think the first one is actually available now already. So we're mid-October. And I think the next two are, they're coming out rapid release. And so you can do that too. And I totally get that as well, because it's like, well, of course, like you want to get the book up, like the books are done. You want to get them up like ASAP onto Amazon or whatever other retailer where you can make more money with it now. So it kind of makes sense. But I think the exclusivity can really help you. I also think that audiobooks, it's a fun goal. However, if you're going to do that, I would focus on ebooks and print right now. So you can have the goal of funding your audiobook. I would not make that the focus of the campaign, because audiobook listeners are on like Audible and Apple, and like there's not like a huge community around audiobooks on Kickstarter, where there's a much bigger community around print books. And then people, ebooks are kind of like, like people are good with ebooks too. Like they don't want only the ebook, but they, you know, like the ebook print stuff is that can kind of go together. So that's what I would do. What would you do, Russell? He's
Yeah,
the
I would.
expert.
Well, so my favorite thing to do is to hold back a book until the series is done on Kickstarter, and then have enough to rapid release that series on Amazon to take advantage of the cliffs that you're going to face and the hurdle of having people read the book and then want the next book and then it not being available and all of those things. Also, just the simple fact of when you upload to Amazon and like you say, my book's not ready, and then you upload it later, often Amazon will just literally screw up and like not have like put the right book in there. So like I at least
There's
want,
there's a lot of
like the book, like, because you're gonna have to upload it and then get the link and then like upload another thing to like have the thing at the bottom. But like I just want to do all of that BS work one time. But mostly what I want is I want the ability to say, here's the entire rest of this series coming out. I don't have to freak out and write that series, and the book's already done. Like the I've already made back my production cost. So like I can be building up, and what I'm doing now with the Godsverse Chronicles, whereas why if you look at the Godsverse Chronicles, you only see 7 of 11 of the 4 of the 7 books, and you only see 4 of the 11 books come when the rest of the series releases, because like, you know, you'll say, oh, who's Russell? He only has a couple books on Amazon, but like I literally have over a dozen books across 2 series that are fully funded, and I'm building nest eggs for, so that when I launch the series, I have 5, 10, 15, $20,000 of marketing spend on top of the fact the books are through production that I can spend launching one series. And what I have learned through doing a lot of Facebook ads and talking to a lot of Facebook ads expert is like, you can make money, you can make a little bit of money spending like $5 to $10 a day on Kickstarter, but like that doesn't scale until you get up to like spending real money, like $100 or $200 a day. Like suddenly, if you're spending, if like this gap between $10 and like 50 or 60 or whatever that number is like a gulf. It's like really hard to spend to make those work. But if you can either come in and like really small spend or really huge spend, because you have so many books that you can like, okay, so like 11 books, right? You put 11 books on Amazon at even $3.99 a piece. Like that's a $30 read through, and you can make like, you can spend a whole lot of money per sale to like make that back. So that is what I don't spend any money on Amazon or Facebook or any of those ads right now, because I know that like, it's almost a futile pursuit when you have very few books in a series, especially if they are not to market. Like I know my books are mythological fantasy, and I'm just going to have to spend more money to get a sale on Amazon. So I want to make sure that I have a robust back catalog before I do that. And like, I have not spent money on advertising in over a year of my own books. It's just all on the Kickstarter and like having built my mailing list and going to shows and all of the things, sort of like building it so it will come. And I'm not saying that you should like do the thing that I've done. I've had a long and very fruitful career on Kickstarter, and just generally building like a mailing list where I have like 10,000 people regularly, and I can hit like over 100,000 people if I need to. But I do think that there is some efficacy in saying, I know that Amazon has a cliff, if not 14, 30, 60, and 90, at least at 30 days for sure. And at least
30 days.
Yeah. So there are other cliffs that I think exist, and like people have speculated exist, but for sure, 100% without fail, the cliff of 30 days exists. And so if I need to make a book that launches every 30 days in order to make sure, or I'm in KU and like I want to put my books in KU, and like I just want to put the whole series in KU, and then I can release 4 books at one time and maybe get that all-star bonus by slamming ads into it. Like there's all these ways that you can use Kickstarter to fund a series that may not come out on Amazon for years, let alone weeks or months afterwards. And so I'm not saying you should do that, but if I were like, that is what I'm doing. And as a person who has consulted with a lot of authors and knows a lot of consultants, like I don't see how you lose especially if you're running an off-brand series that is not straight to market. Because if you're running it, like if mermaids are the thing of the
Yeah.
month, and like you got to write the book, you got to write the mermaid book this month, like you got to
Yeah.
do it and get it on there. But like if you're writing a book that does not, that is more evergreen, then it's a lot different. And like maybe you missed like there was a I think it was hell, or there was a demons, or there was a trend in like fantasy that like I just totally missed, like while I was writing, and I was like, oh, but it's freaking demons, like it's gonna come around again, and like maybe I
Yeah.
wait until the next time it comes around, and that's when I like hammer everything.
Yeah, I mean, so my experience has been different than Russell's, but also I write like very to market with my fiction. Like I'm writing like kind of, well, so I write urban fantasy and paranormal romance, and it's like young women in really pretty dresses on the covers, and like it's like some, it's the basic tropes. It's like vampires, werewolves, angels. Yeah, it's just like, so, and that's what I love to write. So like that's one of the things we talk about. It's like, yeah, if you love to write those things, which a lot of authors do, like a lot of authors do, but I can tell you one thing: if you are a really successful author, then you definitely love to write to those tropes. Like you are absolutely writing to those tropes. Maybe it's because you love it, but you're like, that is how you're writing right now, and that is a portion of why you're seeing success on retailers, because that is what retailers are going to push. That's just kind of how retailers work. It's in their best interest to push, a popular trope or popular series. My studies of the Amazon algorithms is that 30-day cliff, 90-day cliff, those are very real cliffs. The 90-day cliff is not as cliffy as the 30-day cliff. The 30-day cliff is a real thing. And I just think, I think like if you want to write in a small genre, like if and I believe that you should write what you want. Like why bother doing this if you're not writing what you want? Like I don't, and I get like people need money, whatever, but like I don't think you should write something you don't want to write. But yeah, if you're not writing to a big category, then you're gonna have to do other things. Like you're gonna have to hit the algorithms harder usually. That's typically something you have to do. You're gonna have to like really and I always recommend Amazon ads to like massage your also bots. So I don't know how big mythological fantasy is. I know I looked up Norse mythology recently, and I think it was like 2,500 books. That's a pretty small category. Like it really is. And so being able to, like, if you love Norse mythology and you're writing that, you're not, it's going to be tough to compete on the UF categories, the urban fantasy categories, like the big one. So you're going to have to really focus on trying to dominate the Norse mythology category. Like
And
that is
also
the reality.
the people that love Norse mythology are going to be more excited to buy that book, like that on
Yeah.
Kickstarter.
Oh yeah,
Like they were willing to
totally.
pay a premium. One of the things we see in comics is like people are willing to pay a premium for a
Yeah.
book because so few comics like
Yeah.
just exist, and it's such a small category.
Yeah.
So to go back to Megan's point, because I know we gotta
No, we
wrap
got
up
off.
this hour,
Yeah.
is I think you should do audio and print of a series that you are going to, you either plan to continue, or maybe you only plan to continue if it has a successful Kickstarter. So I would only add an audiobook component in there if you are sure you are going to produce the audiobook, even if you don't make a lot of money from the campaign. That's always like, if you're going to run a campaign, I recommend starting at like $500, and then once you want only put rewards in there that you're going to hit. So maybe you say if you hit $5,000, you'll do an audiobook or something like that. Like I personally don't care about audiobooks. Like I don't make them for my books. Like I don't use them. I don't read them. I don't. So like I never include them in my books. Like, and I've seen on Kickstarter, they just don't do well unless you're doing like a big, like for the whole book. But yes, I do think that exclusivity is really important. I don't think it has to be a long exclusivity period. It could be a month or 2 months, but like you should give the Kickstarter backers the book before anyone else gets it. Don't put books on and do cover reveals. Like I want new covers for this book or like something like that. Like brand new book that because it's just like on Amazon. Like on Amazon, they like the brand new book because no one's bought it yet, so they can push it hard. So in the same way, you want to be able to push it hard, which means like bringing a book to the market that has never been on the market before. So yeah, I think the next ebook / print book production is the thing. And that means, and if you are bringing book 2, make sure you say book 1 and 2. Don't just say book 2, say that it's the whole series. You're still doing the whole series, even if you have 10 books.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important, is to do a series. I mean, people have seen a lot of success with audiobook as a stretch goal. So I will say that, like Matt's campaign, you can go check it out. MG Heron, I forget what it's called. I think relics of, well, I don't remember. So yeah, I would definitely consider audiobook as like a stretch goal. That's awesome. What you want to do.
And I know we are about out of time, so I just want to show you guys again our campaign page. We got one backer during this, so we're now over 6,500. 1 minute before I said we should be at 6,500 today. So,
it's so true. Like Russell's numbers are crazy on target.
I didn't know they would be on target because I usually do 4 books. So we're doing in 1 book what I normally do in 4 books. So like this is like bananas to me. But by backing today, you get this early bird workshop on Facebook ads, which Monica is going to run. Plus, she's going to release another workshop every week from now on. So like you will get Facebook ads and like the other 5 ones or 4 ones, however many more she's going to do on this. So I mean, that's insane. And you get all of them literally if you back for as little as $1, you get access to it. They're usually $97. And probably when we do the post campaign stuff, after we've logged in and gave it to people, we'll give them the chance to buy it for $100 if they didn't get in here. So,
yeah. And I just want to say they're actually usually non-existent. Like I don't typically do these workshops. So this is a special thing that we're doing. And Russell and I are doing a lot of special things for this campaign. So definitely back it, because we don't do this stuff normally. Like we normally want to like write our fiction or our books or whatever, and like not really, we're not like out there doing these things.
Yeah, but what's going to be amazing is now we're going to have, so this is one thing about Kickstarter is like, we're going to have this for the launch of our books, of the series that we're going to do. Like we're doing a big series on, called Book Sales Supercharged, and it's 16 books. And like, shockingly, each of the ones that she is pushing out is going to be relevant for one of those books. So now, just by the fact that, and once she does them, if she makes them evergreen, like we can just inside of the book, we can just say, hey, we have a workshop for $100 on this. And like they become lead magnets that we're literally doing, and we're funding them through the creation of this series. So you get all of those things. I have a course called How to Build an Audience from Scratch. If you pledge at $1, usually a $27 course. I give it to you for free. $10 the book, $25 the print and the launch plan. VIP calls if you spend $50. And I don't do these VIP calls anymore. Like I used to be very present. Like I only do them for people that back the campaigns. Like if you spend $100 like on Amazon, you're not going to get these calls. $100 will get you the Kickstarter sprint with us, which I literally never plan to do again.
There's
I'm
no
doing
way
it for this campaign, which is you get into a Facebook group. I walk you step by step through, and we all launch campaigns in January. With what we learn in that group, including myself. $150, you get so everything above $100, you get the group. $150, you get my course, Crush It on Kickstarter, and the group. So which is great if you're going to get the group, spend $150 more, and you get the course and the group on top of that, so you can come in fresh.
So the course is only $50 more than the Kickstarter sprint with us. Right. And the course is like super relevant. So
yeah, absolutely. Our author library, which is, I don't know, so many books, 16 books. No,
it's
30,
more.
30,
it's
31 books plus a productive novelist workbook. So It's like 40 books. It's like so many books for $250. It's just so many books. We have gifts for sprints. We have like we talked about consulting. So with the consulting, usually we charge about $200 an hour for consulting. We're doing it for less, and you get the course and the sprint included, which we literally never do.
Yeah. Well, and several people have backed at that already. So
yeah.
I don't know if we'll have to limit that, but people really want Russell's eyes on their Kickstarter, and it makes sense because like you can spend $500 on the consulting, but it could improve your Kickstarter by like thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's a really, really good value, regardless. I know it is, a lot of money for some people, but it's a business expense, and Russell can literally make your campaign like double or triple by it's tough to say like expected outcome, but he can really, really improve your campaign, and he did so with this one and his own.
You can actually go to YouTube and see how I improved this campaign. Like literally, I did it live with Monica on the page. So anyway, like Kickstarternovel.com. This campaign is going for 36 days. So like you don't have to go and buy $500 now. You can come in for $1 now and be like, hey, I want all of the things. I'm going to up to $500 by the end of the campaign. I want all of the campaign updates that are going to have exclusive stuff about like Monica's thoughts about how to do this. And we're going to like, and then like, or I want to spend that $2,500 for the Wide Minders event, but like I need until November to do it. Well, the campaign's going until November 13th, I believe.
November 13th. And that's when you'll be, I think that's when you are charged. Is the campaign closes and then you're charged. So if you already know you want to do something, you've got a couple pay periods, I think.
Sure. Yeah. And then that's a great point too. It's like you could back at the $500 now, and then like all you need is the money in your account on November 13th. Depending on when, or 14th, depending on like at what time they charge, but right around that time, you need to have it. So you can gift yourself like an early present for like later. But with this book is, I'm not kidding when I say this is, I hope this is the definitive guide to getting your book selling on Kickstarter. We also have definitive guides for selling on Amazon and like everywhere else. But this is the definitive guide on selling on Kickstarter. Like I really truly believe it. I don't think there's any book that's like it, written from authors who use written from authors' perspectives, especially not one like there are books about like crowdfunding, and there's one about crowdfunding fiction, but like that person who wrote it is a Kickstarter expert. He is not a publishing expert. And the difference between these two books, not that the other book is not great, the difference is I am a Kickstarter expert. I speak Kickstarter. Monica speaks publishing. And so she's literally taking all of the things that I've written over the years and all of the things she's learned, and she's writing it in this book in a way that will be possible, that speaks the language for authors who never use Kickstarter to understand.
Yeah. We also, we're adding a couple chapters. So you can see there's like a 21 chapter summary of like what the book is, but we're adding a couple chapters, one on overwhelm, one on like, Kickstarter algorithms. So there's a couple other things that we'll be adding to this book. And it's, the end result is probably going to be like a really sizable book, like 300 pages, which is crazy to me. I don't normally write books that long, but sometimes the topic warrants it.
Yes. And so we're gonna say goodbye now, but I want to end with this comment from Wicked Tree Press, which I'm gonna have to like copy and save. I kept typing a question and you all kept answering them. Anyway, I published weird books and was trying to do it without Kickstarter. Not because I don't love Kickstarter, because I do, but because I wasn't ready. I'm here for it now and support it at the $100 tier because Russell kills Kickstarter and love the partnership between the two of you. I want to release my next book on Kickstarter first and release a second edition of the first book with it. Hope that's a good plan. This was a great chat. And yes, I think that's an amazing plan.
Yeah, I got to screenshot that because that was really touching.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jessica. And I look forward to seeing you in the group. And you have access to the group Also, I should say, if you message me, Wicked Tree Press, I will give you access to the Facebook group, because we've started the sprint group right now. Like, it's starting right now, so you can ask questions. So that is another thing. At the $100 and $150 tier, you get access to the group right now. We're not going to be starting until November, but like, you can come in and start asking questions and start building the community right now, today, if you are in the group or if you join today.
Yep. And there are close to, I think there's over 15 people already planning to do the sprint with us. So if you want to do the sprint, come do it. We're, we could have like 30, 40, 50 people in it by the end of this campaign. So come join us.
All right, Monica, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And we'll see you behind the backer wall.
All right. Bye.